Have you ever faced a moment when life hit you so hard, you thought you couldn't stand back up? When the world seemed too heavy, the setbacks too painful, and the silence too loud, that's the moment where strength is tested. Not in the easy days, not when everyone is cheering for you, but when you are left alone with nothing but your willpower. Strength is never proven in the sunshine, when everything feels light and effortless, when the world's on your side and the doors open without resistance. Anyone can stand tall when life is easy. The true test of strength arrives in the storm, when the ground beneath you shakes, when uncertainty grips your heart, and when everything you thought was secure begins to collapse around you. It is in those moments of pressure, pain, and trial that your inner foundation is revealed. Strength in adversity is not about how loudly you speak, but how firmly you stand when there is every reason to fall apart. Adversity strips away the comforts, the applause, and the illusions. It leaves you face to face with yourself, your fears, your doubts, your insecurities. But within that confrontation lies the opportunity to grow into someone unshakable. When you are pressed on every side, you discover reserves of courage you never knew existed. When the world tells you it's over, strength whispers, "Not yet." The collapse of certainty is not the end. It is the beginning of resilience. Adversity creates a furnace, and in that furnace, weakness burns away, leaving behind a core that cannot be broken. Think about how storms work. The shallow, rooted trees are the first to be torn from the ground, but the ones with roots that run deep into the earth may bend, but they do not break. People are the same. Those who only look strong when life is easy often crumble when hardship strikes. But those who have built their strength from within, through discipline, through patience, through persistence, are the ones who endure. They may stumble, they may weep, but they rise again and again because their strength is not situational, it is foundational. Strength in adversity is also about endurance. It's about holding on when everything inside you screams to quit. It is continuing to walk forward even when the path is dark and your steps are heavy. Endurance doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means you choose not to surrender to it. Pain becomes the teacher, adversity becomes the training ground, and endurance becomes the bridge that carries you from despair to victory. Every time you choose not to give up, you build another layer of resilience. But strength in adversity is not simply survival. It is transformation. Every trial you endure changes you. It sharpens your perspective, deepens your gratitude, and strengthens your character. The person who comes out of the storm is never the same as the one who entered it. Hardship has a way of revealing your purpose, clarifying your priorities, and shaping you into someone who can carry more, inspire more, and achieve more than you imagined. What feels like collapse is often construction. What feels like breaking is often building. Life will always have valleys. You will face rejection, disappointment, betrayal, and failure. These are unavoidable, but they do not define you. What defines you is how you stand in the middle of them. Do you allow them to crush your spirit, or do you rise with a deeper determination? Do you let them silence your vision, or do you keep moving forward with faith and grit? The strongest people are not those who never face storms. They are those who refuse to let storms destroy their will to fight. So when adversity comes, and it will, do not despise it. Do not see it as proof of weakness. See it as the very ground where strength is born. For true strength is not measured when life is easy. It is measured when everything is falling apart and you still choose to rise. You may bend, but you will not break. You may stumble, but you will not stay down. Strength in adversity is the unshakable truth that nothing has the power to destroy you unless you surrender. And as long as you stand, as long as you rise, you are unbreakable. Feelings are powerful, but they are not permanent. They rise and fall like waves, influenced by circumstances, moods, and moments. One day you may wake up motivated, ready to conquer the world, and the next you may feel like staying in bed, drained and uninspired. If you rely solely on your feelings to determine your actions, your life will become unstable, inconsistent, and unpredictable. Success, resilience, and lasting achievement are never built on the shaky foundation of emotion. They are built on discipline, the steady, unchanging commitment to act according to principle, not impulse. Discipline is what carries you when feelings abandon you. It is easy to work hard when you are inspired, but what about the days when nothing inside you wants to move forward? That is where discipline steps in. Discipline doesn't ask if you feel like it. Discipline simply says, do it anyway. This steady voice becomes the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Feelings may give you the spark to start, but discipline is the fuel that keeps the fire alive long after the spark fades. Think about the people who reach excellence in any field. Athletes, leaders, artists, professionals. They do not achieve greatness because they always feel motivated. They achieve it because they honor their routines and commitments, even when they don't feel like it. The runner who gets up at dawn when the bed is warm and the air is cold doesn't rely on feelings. They rely on discipline. The writer who shows up at the desk every single day, even when inspiration is silent, doesn't rely on feelings. They rely on discipline. Discipline creates consistency, and consistency creates results that last. Feelings are like weather. They change without notice. Discipline is like climate, the long-term atmosphere that shapes your environment. If you build your life on feelings, you will live in constant fluctuation, shifting directions every time your mood changes. But if you build your life on discipline, you establish stability. Even when feelings are low, your actions remain steady. That steadiness builds habits, and those habits shape destiny. Discipline is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers because it demands action regardless of emotional state. Another truth about feelings is that they can deceive you. Feelings are often louder than logic and can convince you to take shortcuts, quit early, or avoid discomfort. But discipline keeps you aligned with long-term goals rather than short-term comfort. Discipline reminds you that the pain of growth is temporary, but the reward of persistence is permanent. Feelings tell you, this is too hard. Discipline tells you, keep going. The hard part is where growth begins. Discipline also builds self-respect. Every time you choose discipline over feelings, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your impulses. You show yourself that your word is trustworthy, that you can rely on your own commitments. This inner respect builds confidence because you know that you are not at the mercy of fluctuating emotions. You are guided by principles, by vision, by purpose. That kind of confidence cannot be faked. It is earned through daily discipline. It is important to understand that discipline does not kill feelings. It transforms them. The more you practice discipline, the more your feelings begin to follow. When you exercise even when you don't feel like it, eventually you feel stronger and healthier. When you study even when you're tired, eventually you feel the pride of knowledge and achievement. Discipline plants seeds that feelings later harvest. But without discipline, feelings stay empty promises with no harvest to enjoy. Life will always test whether you are ruled by emotions or anchored by discipline. There will be days of frustration, boredom, and doubt. If you surrender to those feelings, you lose momentum and delay your growth. But if you act with discipline, you rise above temporary moods and keep walking toward permanent results. Discipline doesn't care if you're tired, discouraged, or uninspired. Discipline only cares about the choice you make in this moment, the choice to keep moving forward. So remember this truth: feelings are temporary, but discipline creates permanent results. Feelings may fade, but the fruits of discipline last a lifetime. Don't live a life controlled by the rise and fall of emotion. Build a life grounded in discipline, and you will discover that success, strength, and fulfillment are not about how you feel in a moment, but about what you consistently choose to do day after day. Faith is the foundation that holds a person steady when everything else feels uncertain. It is not simply a feeling or a passing thought, but a deep, rooted conviction that there is something greater at work than what your eyes can see. Faith gives you the courage to take steps forward, even when the path is hidden in shadows. It becomes the anchor in the storm, the voice that says, keep going, when doubt screams, turn back. Without faith, setbacks feel final, struggles feel unbearable, and the unknown feels terrifying. But with faith, every obstacle becomes a stepping stone, every failure a lesson, and every delay a preparation for something greater. Faith requires trust. Trust that life has meaning beyond the immediate moment, that your efforts will bear fruit, even if you can't see them yet. that the struggle you're enduring is not wasted. This trust is not blind ignorance. It is a choice to believe in possibility rather than surrender to despair. Faith whispers that there is more ahead than what you currently hold, and that your destiny is bigger than your difficulty. That kind of belief fuels courage, because when you believe there is something on the other side, you find the strength to keep walking. Many people stop when they face resistance because they only trust what they can see. But faith goes beyond sight. It calls you to act with conviction even when evidence is scarce. A farmer plants a seed into the ground without seeing immediate growth. Faith tells him that beneath the soil, life is developing. In the same way, you may not see immediate results from your work, your prayers, or your struggles, but faith assures you that something is happening beneath the surface. That trust allows you to keep investing, keep believing, and keep moving. Faith as a foundation also builds resilience. When failure knocks you down, faith helps you rise with the belief that this is not the end of your story. It gives meaning to pain by framing it as preparation. It shifts your perspective from, why me, to, what is this teaching me? With that mindset, no setback becomes wasted and no challenge is meaningless. Faith reframes struggle into strength, delays into development, and uncertainty into opportunity. Courage is born from faith. It is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite fear, because you believe in something greater than your fear. Faith pushes you to take risks, to step out of comfort zones, and to endure hardships with the assurance that the reward is worth it. Without faith, fear becomes paralyzing. With faith, fear becomes fuel. You begin to realize that courage is not about knowing the outcome, but about trusting that whatever happens, you will grow, endure, and eventually succeed. Faith also shapes consistency. When you live by sight alone, your actions fluctuate with circumstances. But when you live by faith, your actions remain steady because your motivation is not tied to immediate results, but to long-term trust. You continue to work, to sacrifice, to endure, because you believe that what you're building will eventually stand. Faith is the discipline of the unseen. It empowers you to act today with confidence about tomorrow. The greatest strength of faith is that it grounds you in hope. Life will always bring seasons of darkness, moments when answers are delayed, and times when the weight of struggle feels overwhelming. But faith is the light that breaks through the darkness. It is the assurance that no storm lasts forever, no night continues without a dawn, and no battle ends without growth. Faith gives you the patience to wait, the courage to fight, and the peace to rest, knowing that what you're moving toward is worth it. So hold on to faith as your foundation. Build your life on trust beyond what you see. When everything around you feels uncertain, let faith be the unshakable ground beneath your feet. With it, you will find the courage to move forward, the strength to endure, and the confidence to rise no matter how heavy the storm. Faith is the bridge between where you are and where you are meant to be. And as long as you hold on to it, you will never run out of courage to keep moving forward. Setbacks are often misunderstood. People see them as proof of failure, as signs that they are not good enough, smart enough, or strong enough to achieve what they desire. But the truth is, setbacks are not dead ends. They are redirections, lessons, and opportunities disguised in disappointment. Every setback has the potential to be a setup for something greater, if you choose to see beyond the immediate pain and frustration. What feels like rejection today can become the reason for your breakthrough tomorrow. Life rarely moves in a straight line. Progress comes with twists, turns, and interruptions that test your resilience and sharpen your character. When you face a setback, you have two choices. You can let it define you, or you can let it refine you. Those who quit at the first sign of failure never discover what the setback was trying to teach them. But those who endure, who pause, learn, and adjust, discover that the setback was preparing them for a larger opportunity. The job you lost may open the door to a career better aligned with your purpose. The relationship that ended may clear the way for one that values and strengthens you. The rejection letter may lead you to develop skills and grit that eventually propel you further than you ever imagined. What seemed like the end becomes the turning point. Setbacks also expose weaknesses, and that exposure is a gift. It shows you where you need to grow, what habits need to be refined, and what mindsets must be challenged. Without setbacks, you would never see the blind spots holding you back. Failure shines a light on what must change. It reveals the areas you have overlooked, the details you ignored, and the shortcuts that cannot sustain long-term success. Painful as it may be, setbacks provide the clarity you need to grow stronger. They humble you, ground you, and force you to rebuild on a more solid foundation. Think of history's greatest achievers. None of them arrived at success without setbacks. The most inspiring stories are not of those who never fell, but of those who fell and chose to rise again. Setbacks were their teachers. They received sharpened their determination. Every closed door redirected their path closer to where they were truly meant to be. If you examine closely, you'll see that what appeared to be a failure in their journey was often the very thing that positioned them for greatness. Another truth about setbacks is that they develop resilience. Each time you recover from one, your ability to face the next challenge grows stronger. You learn that life does not end when plans collapse. That strength is not the absence of failure, but the persistence to keep going through it. Resilience becomes a shield that no disappointment can penetrate. You stop fearing failure because you realize failure is never final unless you quit. The courage to rise after every fall becomes your greatest asset. Turning setbacks into setups requires perspective. You must choose to view them not as punishments but as preparation. Instead of asking, "Why me?" start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That shift in mindset transforms your approach to challenges. Suddenly, failure is not wasted. It becomes the soil in which growth takes root. It becomes the fire that forges character. It becomes the training ground that equips you to handle the weight of success when it finally arrives. Setbacks are not barriers, they are bridges. They are not the end of the story. They are chapters that build toward a stronger ending. The doors that close often protect you from walking into rooms you were never meant to enter. The opportunities that slip away often save you from settling for less than what you deserve. And the failures that sting the most often become the foundation for the victories that mean the most. So when life knocks you down, refuse to see it as defeat. See it as a reset, a new direction, and an invitation to grow. Every setback carries within it the seed of a setup. Every disappointment prepares you for destiny. And every failure, no matter how final it feels, can become the doorway to greater growth if you keep moving forward. Consistency is often underestimated because it doesn't look dramatic or spectacular. It doesn't make headlines or get instant applause. It is quiet, simple, and often unnoticed. Yet consistency is the most powerful force for transformation. It is not about making one grand move, but about taking small, steady steps day after day, long after the excitement fades. Success is not built in a single moment. It is built in the countless ordinary moments when you choose to show up, stay committed, and keep going. While motivation is fleeting, consistency builds momentum, and momentum is what makes you unstoppable. The reason consistency is so powerful is because it compounds. Just like money grows with compound interest, actions grow when repeated daily. A small step taken once seems insignificant, but when taken consistently over weeks, months, and years, it produces extraordinary results. Reading a few pages each day leads to a library of knowledge. Saving a small amount daily builds financial security. Exercising regularly transforms health and energy. These outcomes are not the result of a single effort, but of consistent, steady practice. Consistency also builds trust within yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you prove that you can be relied on. That inner trust builds confidence, and confidence fuels more action. On the other hand, inconsistency erodes self-respect. When you constantly start and stop, make commitments and abandon them, you begin to doubt yourself. But when you practice consistency, you learn to believe in your ability to follow through. And that belief becomes a foundation for greater challenges. One of the greatest challenges people face is impatience. We want results quickly, and when they don't come, we give up. But consistency requires patience. It is about playing the long game, about trusting the process even when the results are not visible yet. Just like a seed planted in the soil does not sprout overnight, your efforts need time to grow. Consistency is the act of watering the seed daily, even when the ground looks unchanged, believing that growth is happening beneath the surface. Consistency also develops discipline. There will be days when you don't feel motivated, when life feels heavy, or when distractions seem endless. But consistency is not about feelings, it is about commitment. When you act consistently, you train yourself to rise above mood and circumstance. You become someone who acts because of purpose, not because of emotion. That kind of discipline creates strength that cannot be easily broken. Momentum is the reward of consistency. At first, progress feels slow and difficult, like pushing a heavy boulder uphill. But the more consistently you push, the lighter it begins to feel. Eventually, momentum takes over, and what once felt impossible becomes natural. Habits take root, and discipline becomes second nature. Momentum doesn't come from bursts of effort. It comes from steady, repeated action. And once momentum is built, it carries you further than motivation ever could. Consistency is also the equalizer. Talent, intelligence, and opportunities vary from person to person, but consistency is available to everyone. You may not be the most talented or the most privileged, but if you are the most consistent, you will outlast and often outperform those who rely solely on their natural gifts. Consistency beats intensity when intensity is only temporary. Many start strong, but few stay the course. The ones who do are the ones who win. In the end, greatness is not about what you occasionally do. It is about what you consistently do. It is the daily habits, the small steps, the ordinary routines that create extraordinary results. Consistency builds character, sharpens skills, and fuels growth in ways that sporadic effort never can. So if you want unstoppable momentum, commit to the small, steady steps. They may feel insignificant in the moment, but over time they create a force that nothing can stop. Consistency is the quiet power that turns dreams into reality, vision into achievement, and ordinary lives into extraordinary legacies. It is the bridge between who you are now and who you are meant to be. Legacy is not built in moments of ease. It is forged in the fires of struggle and the choices you make when life feels heavy. Strength is not only about your ability to survive storms, but about the example you leave for those who watch how you rise. Every act of resilience becomes a message. Every choice to keep going when it would be easier to quit becomes part of the story that others will remember. Your strength is not just for you. It echoes, it inspires, and it creates a legacy that outlives your circumstances. Resilience means more than simply enduring pain. It is the courage to stand tall in the face of adversity, to adapt when everything changes, and to rebuild when life falls apart. This resilience leaves an imprint on those who witness it. Children learn from parents who choose perseverance over despair. Communities are strengthened by individuals who refuse to surrender in difficult seasons. Friends and strangers alike find courage by watching someone they know rise above hardship. Strength becomes contagious. It spreads hope. A life marked by resilience shows that obstacles are not the end of the story. When you rise again and again, you give others permission to believe they can do the same. Someone out there may be one step away from quitting, and your example may be the reason they decide to keep going. Legacy is not just about wealth, fame, or accomplishments. It is about how your story of endurance inspires others to continue their own. Strength that builds legacy also transforms pain into purpose. The struggles you overcome can be turned into lessons that guide others. Your scars can speak louder than your victories because they show that survival is possible. When you rise, not hiding your battle but using it as testimony, you plant seeds of faith in others. They see that hardship does not have to destroy. It can refine, it can strengthen, it can prepare. And because you chose to rise, others may find the courage to rise too. Resilience also creates generational impact. When you choose strength, you change the narrative for those who come after you. Families remember the ancestor who refused to give up, the one who endured so others could thrive. Entire generations can lie better because someone in the past stood strong when it mattered most. Your endurance today can become the foundation on which your children and grandchildren build their futures. That is the power of legacy. It is bigger than you. What makes resilience powerful is not that it erases hardship, but that it demonstrates victory in spite of hardship. It tells the world that weakness does not define you, that setbacks do not stop you, and that suffering cannot silence you. Your resilience becomes a light in the dark, a living reminder that storms pass and strength endures. And long after the details of your struggle fade, the image of how you rose will remain in the hearts of those who saw it. Legacy through resilience is not about perfection. It is about persistence. It is about showing that life is not easy, but it is worth fighting for. It is about proving that hope is stronger than despair and that perseverance outlasts pain. The way you rise may inspire more people than you ever meet. You may never know whose life was changed because they watched you refuse to quit. So choose resilience not only for survival, but for the impact it leaves. Rise not just for yourself, but for those who will follow. Let your strength be the evidence that hardship is not the end, and that courage can turn the darkest season into a legacy of light. When you rise, you do more than overcome, you inspire. And that inspiration may become the very reason someone else finds the strength to rise too.